I don't want to mince my language. William Ruto is behaving as a thug. You know, this idea of abducting the young people with, faceless people and marked cars, it reminds me of what happened in South Africa during the apartheid regime. It was so brutal that over 2,000 people during the entire period of the apartheid disappeared and were unaccounted for. Other African countries, including Uganda and Idi Amin, and if other countries abroad like the ISIS, have used abduction and beheadings and killings as a way of spreading terror, hence the name terrorism. There is a danger that William Ruto is suspending the constitutional order in order to intimidate and scare Kenyans from agitating their political and democratic rights. So there is no point of calling him President Ruto. When you act like a thug, you are a thug. Walks like a quack, like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. The other issue is this issue of corruption. I want to say very clearly that the only way the opposition in Kenya is going to win, and one of the reasons I'm running for governor of Nairobi, is to bring back this issue of integrity. Because anybody who has been stained by corruption in the opposition or outside the opposition should never be entrusted in holding any public office. And we must be very careful as the opposition when we begin talking to the younger Kenyans through the Gen Z movements. If we are going to present them people of questionable character or people of questionable past, we must be in the war against Ruto, the opposite of him. The reason Ruto is in so much trouble is all the lies that he did and because of all the corruption that has gone under his watch. Look at the fertilizer. Look at the G2G government deal. Look at Andani that was stopped both in Kentraco. Look at Shaf or Shif. So if the opposition is going to rise, as Eugene WAMALWA has eloquently said, it must also do so on the bedrock of integrity. And we must not be tired in these spaces to tell our leaders, including Eugene, that we are not going to take any nonsense from anybody who is aspiring for leadership on the basis of compromising the integrity of public holding or of public holders. Because MPs and senators and governors are the ones who also reflect how good or bad a government can be. It cannot just be the president. So let us also ensure that we bring clean people, young people who are fresh. Finally, I want to talk about the IBC. I think the Kenyan people have been very consistent in terms of pressure through these spaces. In fact, this pressure is what has led to abductions because, the spaces agitate this government. But the spaces were wonderful in putting pressure until the other day, the courts have given way to the formation of the IBC. We should continue the pressure that the IBC be formed without any further delay. And also that every eligible Kenyan can have an identity card, because we cannot vote with our smartphones. We cannot vote on the spaces, but we can vote at the ballot box. And because today you had invited Eugene WAMALWA, not me, let me confirm that the Democratic Alliance Party of Kenya is the 5th largest party in Kenya. We have a governor, George Natembe of Trans Nzoia, and 5 MPs, and several dozen of, MCAs. I hope that when the time comes, Kenyans will join the party as I have and look for their success in elective office by joining the youngest, fastest growing party in Kenya, the Democratic Alliance Party of Kenya. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to share the platform with you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony GACHOKA. I've been seeing you along the Adani issues, and we thank you so much for taking that case forward.
Yeah, Mushimo, you can pick it up from there now. Then we'll bring another team again.
Thank you very much. I think to start with the issue of the young people being entrusted with leadership, I can tell you, as the leader of the youngest party in Kenya, that has also become the fastest growing to become the 5th largest party in Kenya, as Tony GACHOKA said. I think he only forgot to say that apart from Governor Natembe and the 5 MPs, we have the youngest MP, actually, PK Salasia. And this young man really inspires me. When I met him, and there were many senior people, richer people in his constituency in Mumias East who would have won and taken the ticket. and outmaneuvered him. But he was very determined, and when we supported him as DAP Kenya, we have not regretted it. Amongst the parliamentarians in the current parliament, he is one of the youngest, yet he has remained one of the most sensible. When it came to the Finance Bill 2023, he voted no, and he has been loud. He was one of the few MPs who can speak his mind to Ruto and speak, to power, truth to power. And in 2024, he stood with the Gen Zs. He's one of the MPs who came out to receive the Gen Zs. This young man has impressed me. And if we can have many more young people, not just on Twitter, not just on Facebook, not just on the spaces and the digital space, actually going down to the grassroots, mobilizing other young people to get IDs, to register as voters, and actually competing for positions in the county assemblies, because that is where devolved funds go. You can start influencing what happens in your county. And those who are strong enough to come to the National Assembly, you can determine what happens in your country. As a young person, PK is doing it, you can do it. My party is scouting out and is going to waive actually fees, because also the handicap for many young people is, the financial. When it comes to nomination, the fees required is quite high, and the money required, the logistics. We want to make a deliberate move, and that's why in our last meeting at Chui House, we said we were going to promote PK to be actually the leader and the face of the Gen Zs in our party, and to go to all the 47 counties to get other young people who aspire to leadership to do it. And I believe tonight, as I speak to you, it doesn't have to be a very old or young person who must be our president. The test should be the test of integrity. I believe a young person with integrity can lead this country, but equally a young person without integrity can destroy this country. I say so because William Ruto was the youngest candidate. I mean, he was younger than Raila, he was younger than Wajakoya and all the other presidential candidates. But has he really lived to the expectations of Kenyans? The truth is no. When we started this journey, I didn't declare my presidential candidacy just this year. I did it in 2012 with Uhuru when he was Minister for Finance. I was Minister for Justice. Ruto was Minister for Finance. We started a generational change movement. We were called the G7. And we fought to actually replace the old guys in our politics. Yes, we succeeded. Uhuru got in. It was a generational change in our leadership. Ruto was younger than Uhuru. He got in. And I've been waiting for my chance to come in. But I cannot vouch for just a young leader because of age. We believe that a young person must be the one. But equally, it doesn't have to be a disadvantage for younger leaders because of long experience. Because some of those people, when you look at their records, their long experience has been bad for this country. So the taste, and this is what would want to put in place. As Madison said once, if we were a nation of angels, we actually wouldn't need a government. But we don't have angels. It will be Kenyans, but we must set stringent conditions beyond the Leadership and Integrity Act that we have. I think the Gen Zs and all other patriotic Kenyans should set very strict measures through which the candidates who will be picked to represent the new movement can go through. And like Caesar's wife, they must be above reproach. But the test should be the test of integrity. We must look at someone's record. Was this person a person of integrity wherever they served? Are they tribalists? Are they people who can unite or divide this country? So this test, as we get together, we can actually form a team of the winning team that we can change this country. But we need to do it together. I think it is General de Gaulle who once said, sometimes war is too serious to be left to the generals. Tonight, I can tell you what is happening in our country, and the future of a nation is too serious to be left to the politicians. We must invite the agencies. We must invite civil society, the church that he rode on to get in, and all those patriotic Kenyans who are saying our country is going in the wrong direction. And you're talking of the latest opinion poll saying over 80% of Kenyans believe Kenya is headed in the wrong direction. How do we change direction? By getting a better team, a better option for Kenyans that can now get our country back on track. There are those who are saying, why would you work with Gachagua? Gachagua is still a Kenyan. Yes, he was Ruto's deputy. Yes, he was overzealous in actually preaching the gospel of shareholding. But whose gospel was it? That was William Ruto's gospel. When Ruto started by dividing this nation into hustlers and dynasties, he started the gospel of division. In the Western tour, I had one MP saying, oh, we must isolate the Mount Kenya community. And, but we said that, I know the young man, the MP for Webuye Dan Wanyama. That is not his script. That is a script of William Ruto. And when you look at the politics that have destroyed this country, politics of division, politics of hate, 41 against 1, calling other communities madoa-doa, this is what led to the bloodshed in 2008. We must not allow our country to go down that road again. So we must come together and see how we can save our country. Corruption, I think, has gotten to the highest levels ever. Never in the history of our country has any of our president been listed globally as one of the most corrupt leaders in the world, not in Africa. I think the recent list that came out showed that William Ruto was only second to Assad. But Assad is not even in Africa. He's in the Middle East. And he was deposed because of poor leadership. So meaning in Africa today, Kenya is being led by a president who has broken the record in matters corruption. I think the second record is going to win is the record of being a lying president. The culture of lies that the churches spoke about. And that, I think there was someone who estimated that he has told over 5,000 lies. But that is what we are saying. Let us look at how we can come together. If we are looking at, we can only do it on our own as Gen Zs, we don't want these politicians, we don't want those church people, they are the ones who brought Ruto. We will not make it. Let me tell you tonight, even the NAC moment, they were young and old. I remember when my brother and Kibaki and Ngilu came together, they had young people around them. Ngilu had one of the youngest people called Cecily Mbarire. Cecily was a Gen Z then. Cecily used to sit at the table with Kibaki, with Ngilu, and she would reason with WAMALWA. Now, that is the kind of coalition we want to see. Us speaking to each other with Gen Zs, not us speaking at each other, saying we don't want these politicians, we don't want that one, we don't want these dinosaurs. Let us come together to save our country because Kenya needs to be liberated. There are many issues you have raised, some of it touching on corruption, what has been borrowed and disappeared and never accounted for. All these matters we addressed at Bomas. And actually the control of budget told us something that shocked all of us at Bomas. She said the biggest corruption is what is called budgeted corruption. In our budgets, therein lies the greatest corruption. So some of these monies that you're talking about, typing error here that costs billions, money being borrowed that you can't trace in terms of development, all this the Auditor General spoke to. And it opened up the need for us to have transparency and accountability as one of our national values under Article 10 effected. And all those who have been looting this country held to account. This we must do. The matter of Shah and the Grace Mulee, I think with time, Grace Mulee has been vindicated. She was one strong woman who came out and spoke truth to power. They arrested her for that. A few days later, members of parliament sat in Naivasha and they said what Grace said. They said Shah is not working. I listened to the deputy president the other say, yes, Shah has some challenges, but we can correct. NHIF might have had some challenges, but it was working. NHIF could have been improved. at a lesser cost. But there were other interests. The one of 4 billion and the Adani shadow in the Shah deal. It was not about that. I think it wasn't about our national interest. It was more about vested interest that led us to where we are today. But as a new team, as we come together, we have said we must revert back to NHIF, and we have experts who knew what needed to be done to improve that system. And if now that the MPs who passed the laws themselves are saying it is not working, if by June they have not scrapped this thing, if the broad-based government fails to scrap it, then the People's Liberation Coalition government will scrap it. And we want to work together to identify those areas, including housing levy. Of course, we were in a government with Ruto that had put housing as one of the pillars of the Big Four agenda. But we had made it voluntary. But when you look at how this thing has been pushed, mupende musipende, you must pay. You find that there are also other vested interests in terms of, okay, who supplies the cement? Who supplies the iron sheets? Who supplies the steel that actually builds these houses? You find those vested interests connected to those in government. And might not just be about you, a patriotic Kenyan who wants to invest in housing, getting a house. This is a house you might never get, but you will pay for it, upende usipende, because money is going to someone's pocket. So these are some of the issues that we'll be looking at as we form this coalition, and we might be doing when we get into power, because I believe we will get William Ruto out. He will be a one-term president, just like Goodluck Jonathan of Nigeria, just like George Weah of Liberia. The opposition beat the president recently in Ghana. We saw it happening in Botswana. It can happen in Kenya. Let no one tell you tonight. Because I heard some of his cronies say, Oscar Sudi say, Yani, we've never had a one-term president in Kenya. It can never happen in Kenya. Neither have we had a president who has taken the title of the most corrupt president in Africa. It's the first time it's happening. And his government is full of the wash. And that is why you see all these corrupt deals from G2G to KNTC. You took 16 billion. You're saying you're going to get edible oil, reduce the prices of essential commodities. Then you just share the money with your cronies and some members of your family. And Kenyans just keep quiet about it. No, these are some of the issues that we are going to fight for, and we need to work together. Is the judiciary independent? As I said, we are not a nation of angels. We can't say the judiciary is completely independent, but we can say it is not completely captured. It is the only thing that remains between us and total anarchy. And we must defend jealously the independence of the judiciary. When we see an overbearing executive withdrawing the security of judicial officers, intimidating them, when you look at the budget, what they promise, not what they're doing. So all this, we want to work together to see how this can be done. Dr. Milton, about the abductors from Somalia, from Sudan, I want to say, yes, we have evidence of some of those abductors not just being Kenyan. We know that there are those within the region who are actually being used to abduct Kenyans. And these are some of the things that have been going on in other countries around us. We must never allow Kenya to go down that road. So let me not, because of discussion, Wafula from Chevakali, who asked about Luya unity. I think this is something that, as a leader from the region, I've made my contribution, and you cannot question me about that. But also, as our friend had said earlier, I think when I talked about Wetangula being Mutuetu, I was actually saying it the other way around, that though Wetangula is a Luya like me, he's the worst speaker we've had. I was just stating a fact. And we've had better speakers from Western Kenya. And one of them was the one of Solomonic wisdom called Marende, that we all the nation is proud of. So let us still fight for integrity. Let us fight for leadership without limiting it to age, region, or religion. That is how we're going to save this country. Together, we can.